طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصوت واضح من هنا؟
ايوه، صوت كويس.
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم، وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم، وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم، واجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. The last time, alhamdulillah, we finished talking about the meaning, the attributes of meaning. And we said that there are many kinds of attributes of meaning. The first is attributes of the self, essence, and the second is the attributes of the meaning, and then the attributes of the verb or the actions, the attributes of the actions. But the attributes of the meanings, it has relation. So it's called تعلقات الصفات, the relations of these attributes. In this lesson, inshallah, we need to cover two things. Let me share screen. And let's start. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. نعم. طيب. ممتاز. نعم. We said that, so today's lesson titled with the relations. In Arabic it means التعلقات. And we need to cover two things. First, what does it mean? The definition of the relations. The second is the categories of the relations. So let's start with the definition. We said that before starting define what does it mean, the relation, what are the attributes that we talked about. We talked about first the knowledge. We have knowledge. Second, we have the will. And then we have the power. And then we have العلم, القدرة, الإرادة. Okay. And then we have speech. And then we have hearing. And the last one we have what? Seeing. Okay, that's 6. Where's the 7? The 7 is the condition of all of this which is the condition of all of that, which is al-haya, the life. So the seventh one, it's life. So we are talking about the relations of the attributes of meaning. So each one of this should have its own relations. But what do you, when you say relation, what does it mean? We say that the relation, it's what's necessary, what is necessary, what is necessary from the attribute. In Arabic, Al-Imam Dardir, he says, وَالتَّعَلُّقْ هو اقتضاء الصفة أمرا زائدا على قيامها بالذات. So we say that the relation, it means the necessary what? The necessary characteristic. The necessary characteristics from the attribute, and it's something additional from being additional to what? Additional to the being just attributed with this attribute. Let me give you an example. When we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowledge, attributed with the knowledge, and we say that this attribute is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attributed with this attribute. So we say that this attribute has a consequences, has a relation, which is what? Which is the things that are revealed to Allah. So anyone that has ilm, so there is ma'loom. Anyone that has a knowledge, there's something he knows. And for example, the will, anyone that has will, so anyone that attributed with the will, so he can choose. The power, anyone that has power, so he can affect, he can do something. So what is ta'alluqat? Ta'alluqat is something additional of just being attributed with this attribute. It's something additional. Okay? So this is the definition. طيب. Is it clear, this part? No. Perfect. طيب. Now, we're going to talk about the categories. What are the categories of the relation? So the attributes, let's write here a flow chart. The attributes of the meaning, we have three categories about them, about the relation. Okay. A category, the first category, it has a relation with all the rational relation with it has a relation with all the categories of judgment. The categories of judgment. The second is it has a relation with what? With all, not the categories of judgment. Let's, I want to write here the categories of judgment. The categories of judgment is what? Is the necessary, what is necessary, and what's possible and impossible. We talked about this before. Now, the second part here, the second category, it has a relation with only the possible. Okay? It has only okay, Jazakumullah khair. So it has a relation with the possible. All the possibles. And the third one, it has a relation with that, not the possible, no, the existed things. The existed things. الأشياء الموجودة. Okay. So let's talk about the attributes that has a relation with the attributes that has a relation with all the categories of judgment. What are these attributes? We have only two attributes that has a relation with all the categories of judgment, which are al-ilm, the knowledge, and speech. So al-ilm, knowledge, and the speech. Those the only two the two attributes that has a relation with the necessary things, impossible things, and impossible things. So what are these? First is knowledge. And the second is al-kalam, speech. So let's talk about the knowledge. أما كان متعنا. طيب. The knowledge, the kind of relation that knowledge has a relation with the necessary, possible, and impossible is the reveal. It's called the relation of reveal. I think it's like this, I don't know. So it's called تعلق انكشاف. تعلق انكشاف. A reveal. So how is the knowledge has a relation of reveal, necessary, possible, and impossible things? So we say that the knowledge can reveal the necessary things, not can, it has a relation of revealing the necessary things and the possible things and impossible things as information. And we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the universals and knows also not the universals, the individual informations. And he knows these things eternally, okay? And without pursuing some kind of induction or deduction or an effort. It's nothing like the knowledge of the human beings, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is the relation of a speech. So we say that the relation of speech is تعلق دلالة. What does it mean, دلالة? Signifies, I think, or indication. Just one second. Let me. طيب. Okay. So it's a significance, like it's indication or significance. Okay. So what kind of the relation of al-kalam, speech, we say تعلق دلالة, it's significance or indication. That's right, indication. Indication. Okay. And this is so we need to know something. We need to know that some of the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicates something necessary something that is necessary, and something that is possible, and something that is impossible. Okay? As indication, not as a reveal. So we said that in knowledge, it's a reveal. And in speech, it's an indication. I hope it's clear, this part. Okay? So this is the first thing. Now, we have something, it's called actual and potential. Actual and potential. We have something, it's called actual and potential. Let's write it here. In Arabic, actual means tanjizi. Something is already done, or something is already happening, and this is something saluhi, like it has a potential to happen. It didn't happen yet, but it has a potential to happen. Okay? So we say that the knowledge, okay, so we say that the knowledge it's an actual attribute. So the relation of knowledge is revealed, and this kind of relation is actual and eternal. Tanjizi qadim, actual and eternal. Why is that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything since beginningless. Okay? So this is the first thing. So it has only one relation according to the actual and potential. And this actual eternal relation is revealing what? Revealing the necessary information and possible information and impossible information. Okay? That's the knowledge. So it's actual, eternal. Okay? Oh, what happened? Okay, perfect. Very good. What about that speech? We say that speech, it has three relations. Two of them are actual, and one of them is potential. How's that? Let's start talk about the actual. We say that speech, it's some kind of significance, or so the speech of Allah, the self-speech of Allah, signifies something, indicates something. Okay, so these things sometimes signifies the necessary things, and sometimes indicates, oh, what happened? The possible things, and impossible things as an indication. Okay, so from this kind of significance, it's tanjizi, it's actual significance, and actual and eternal. Actual and eternal. So it's a meaning, and this meaning signifies something. So it doesn't matter there's someone heard this speech from Allah just to make this speech signify something. No, 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 no. It's by virtue of what it is by the virtue of the attributes. The attribute of a speech is the attribute of speech. So we say it indicates to the categories of judgment. Whether there's someone heard this speech from Allah and understood this indication, this significance, or no, or not. But when we say, when there's someone let's say there's a speech from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indicates something will happen. Okay, like for example, وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةِ. In the Quran, there's ayah, وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ تَرَى الَّذِينَ كَذَبُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ وُجُوهُهُم مُسْوَدَّةٌ. Okay, so the indication itself, it's eternal. Okay, so the indication itself, it's actual indication, right? So it indicates something which is possible, something. Maybe we can see the faces of the disbelievers as black, maybe not. It's something possible, right? So this indication is eternal. But when it happened, we have another relation which is emergent. Emergent. When this ayah, when the indication of this ayah happens, exists. So we have the speech. It has two kinds of actual relation. The first one is eternal. Eternal according to what? According to the significance. The second is emergent. Emergent according to what? According to the happening of this indication. I hope it's clear now. And the third one is potential. Potential. And this potential thing is we have one relation which is eternal. How's that? We say that, look, here, the eternal things, it's a statement, akhbar, it's khabar, something necessary, something possible, something impossible. So according to the indication, this type of speech has to be eternal. But we have another type of speech, like order someone to do something. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order a group of people to do something, يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. It's an order. Okay? Or forbid, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forbid us or not allowing us to do something. when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order us to do something or order us not to do something. We say that this is potential and eternal. According to what? Look, this kind of a speech, it has two things. First is the indication itself. The indication, we are agreed that this indication, indication is eternal. But this has no relation with the existence of the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala direct this speech to. But when we take in our consideration the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala direct this speech to, it has to be eternal, potential, because we didn't exist yet. Right? So if we didn't exist yet, so if we existed, so it accepts to be eternal. It has a potential to be eternal. But we are not eternal. We are emergent. So that's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, now this becomes emergent, but not potential. Now it's happened. So it's an actual speech. I hope this is clear. You still here with me, Liam? Okay, is this clear or difficult a little bit? Is it clear or Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khairan. So this is the first part of the aqsam. Let's erase them. Okay. The second part is we have attributes that has a relation with not all the categories of judgment. No. One category, just the possibles. And we have only two attributes that has a relation with the possibles. It's al-qudra wal-irada. Al-qudra wal-irada. I want to erase this and make it longer. Oh. The second category is it has a relation with only the possibles. What are those two attributes? First is the will. Second is the power. And we say that the kind of relation of will to the possibles is تعلق التخصيص. What does it mean التخصيص or الترجيح؟ اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. التخصيص أو الترجيح. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. What does it mean? To specify something. So let's say specification, to specify something. Specification. Okay. And how's that? We say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely will, absolute will. But the relation it's only for the possibles. The possibles. And this kind of relation is specification. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specify some possibles to the possibles. Okay. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can choose for the people of Palestine is to suffer. And the Muslim people of Qatar, for example, or Egypt, is living in a welfare and prosperity. That's Allah's choice. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is absolute, has absolute will. And we say that since the will has a relation with the possibles, so the question that comes to the modern atheists, they say, oh, let's talk about it in power. So let's talk about the power now, and then let me tell you this story. So the relation of the power, not specification, it's existing. Okay, so exist something, to make something exist. Or annihilate something. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a complete power to make something pop up to the existence or annihilate it from the existence. Okay? So let's talk about the specification or the is it actual or potential? Actual and potential. First is the will. It has two, the will, it has two relation. One is actual and one is potential. So the actual we have an actual and eternal. We are talking about will. So actual eternal relation. That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specify possible thing eternally by His will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arada, wanted something or specified something since no beginningless. Okay. So this is actual eternal. Tanjizi qadim. We say Tanjizi qadim. So that relation of the possible has two relations. First is Tanjizi qadim, actual eternal. How's that? Allah specifies something since eternity to exist or to be annihilated. Okay, or to, yeah. So this is the first thing. The second is Saluhi, potential. And this is also eternal. How's that? Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specified something since eternal, and this is actual eternal specification. Tanjizi qadim. This relation, it has another relation which is eternal. So this relation, it has a potential to be on the contrary of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not inevitable reason, inevitable cause. Okay, illa, we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laysa bi'illa. Okay, and the effect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not inevitable cause, it's according to the will. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose this, and this relation, it has the same potentiality to be on other way, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose this choose to specify this thing. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose this since eternity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can also choose in the eternity other choices. It has a potentiality to, this relation, it has a potentiality to be on this way. This is according to the will. This is according to the Ash'ari school, the Ash'arism. Okay, this is according to the will. Now let's talk about the power. What kind of relation of the power? So the power, it has two relations also. First is Saluhi Qadim, potential, eternal. And the second is Tanjizi Hadith, actual emergent. Let's talk about potential, eternal. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a potentiality to exist and to make something exist or annihilate something since eternal. It has this potential thing. But what already happened is emergent, actual emergent. actual emergent. Okay, just 1 second. أنا آسف جدا. I'm very sorry. Okay. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. What I was saying. The power? So we say that the power has two relations. First is صلوحي قديم, potential eternal, and تنجيزي حادث, actual emergent. Okay? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make something, has a potentiality to make something exist or annihilate something since beginningless. But what really happened is this: the actual things are emergent, which is, we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is خلق الخلق, and الخلق والرزق والإحياء والإماتة نعم, which is this will let us to talk about the attributes of the actions, صفات الأفعال. Okay. So you have to know something. You have to know that the relations of the attributes are in order. So the power it has a relation to annihilate or to make something exist, not by itself. It's according to the what? According to the will. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifies something, choose something to exist or to be annihilated, and then the power comes its turn. And you need to know something. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before specify something, he knows this thing. So the relation of the knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the possibles, the impossibles, and the necessary things. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something and then make it exist. Okay? Now, the atheists asks a naive questions. Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create a very big rock that he cannot carry, astaghfirullah, that has no power to carry? Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala annihilate himself? Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create another God that is not created? We say that you are asking about those two things. Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it has to be according to the will and the power. And by virtue of what it is, the will, it has a relation with the possibles. And the power has a relation with the possibles. So whenever we are talking about the possible things or the power of Allah, the will of Allah, it has to be according to the possibles. Okay? Why is that? Because we say that the will and the power are some kind of attributes of, it's called the attributes of the affect. It has ability to affect, to specify something and make it exist. Okay? So it wasn't existed and then existed. Okay? So if the will and the power, it has a relation with, not possible, with the necessary thing. If it has a relation with the necessary thing, what is a necessary being? A necessary being is a being that cannot be annihilated. But we are talking about the will and the power. It's a kind of attributes by virtue of what they are. They has to affect to something. What does it mean affect? Is to specify and make it exist. So it has to be in the nothingness first. It has to be annihilated. So the necessary being, it has to be not a necessary being and then created, so that will change completely the nature of the necessary thing. So it will let us to make this necessary is necessary and not necessary at the same time, which is contradiction, which is impossible. And how on earth you make something that exists, that is already exists, to be exists? Can you close the closed door or open the opened door? It's impossible. It's called in Arabic tahsil al-hasil, which is one of the impossibilities. We are talking about the impossibilities in the future, inshallah. Okay? And also, if it has a relation with what? With the impossible things. What is the impossible things? Impossible things, some kinds of things that is impossible to exist from the very beginning. From the very beginning. So when you say that, can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create something that impossible to be created? So that's a self-contradiction. That's an error. Like when you write a program, whether Python or C++ or something, and it gives you an error because there is a contradiction in your code or something. That is exactly what you say. And almost all the questions of the atheists, it's according to this category. Can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do something impossible? Which is, you are saying, and there's a, would this be the same rule for what some claims about Allah being capable of lying? Naam, exactly. So we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is coming, by the way, not in al-ilahiyat and nubuwat. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala possible to lie? Al-Ustad Abu Ishaq al-Isfarayini, he has a very important burhan, a very important argument, tells us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala logically is impossible to lie, because you have to understand this is something related to this. This is all the atheists' questions. So this is the second category, the category of the possibilities, which is will and power. It has two relations, specification and exist or annihilate something. And we talked about the actual and potential relation. Let's talk about the third category. So we talked about the possibles. Now let's talk about, so we have here a kind of attributes that has a relation with the necessary, possibles and impossibles, and then we have only possibles, and here we have not even the possibles, no, the existed possible things. Someone will ask me, okay, what's the difference between the existed possible, the existed and the possibles? We say that the possible has two categories under it. Possible things that is already existed, and possible things that is not here, not existed. This is like you and me and the colors, this thawb. And the not existed is the $1 billion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will سيرزقني إياها inshallah in the future. So it's possible, but it not existed yet. Okay? So this is something possible, but is not existed. So we are talking about this part. Okay? Okay, but there's something you have to know. Wait. We're not talking only about this. Why is that? Because here, the necessary thing is existed also. Existed, right? So here we have possible things that existed and necessary things that are existed, but the impossible, it's impossible, so it's not here, it's not existed, right? So we have some kinds of necessary things that existed and possible things that existed. Now this is what we're going to talk about it now, the existed things. And the existed things, sometimes it is possibles, and sometimes it's necessary. I hope this is clear. Now, طيب. What are the two attributes that has a relation with the existed things? السمع والبصر, hearing and seeing. And what kind of relation are there? Oh, we say that both of them, the relation of the existed things is the relation between those attributes and the existed things is reveal. Exactly like the ilm? No. It's some kind of reveal different than the ilm. Because if it's same like ilm, so there is no difference between this and this and that. No, it will be one attribute, right? Or more than one attribute do the same thing, which is impossible. We talked about that in the previous lessons. So it has to be reveal, but different kind of reveal. And the reveal of the hearing is different from the reveal of the seeing and different from the reveal of the knowledge. Okay? Let's leave this debate into another. Let's leave this debate, yeah, Liam, because there's a a big debate between Al Imam al-Taftazani and the scholars came after him, like Al Imam al-Dusuqi. So let's leave this question later. We're going to talk about this debate later, inshallah. But what I want to say is, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has attributes of hearing and seeing, and is some kind of reveals. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears the 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 attributes and the one that attributed with these things, if it was voices or sounds, or if it's something allowed to be seen or not seen, okay? And we need to know that the hearing and seeing at this level, we need to know it's different from our hearing and seeing, okay? Yeah. Because we see by the eyes and we hear by the ears. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need these things. ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. Okay. And each one of them, according to the actual and potential, التنجيزي actual الصلوحي potential. Okay. So we said that the existed things are two kinds of things. Things that is necessary, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa sifatih, Allah and his attributes, right? And and the other part of the existed thing is possibles, us and our attributes. Okay. So we say that Allah subhanahu that we have two actual relations. The first is eternal, and the actual eternal, the التنجيز القديم, it has a relation with the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his attribute. The essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his attributes. Tanjizi qadim, actual, eternal, has a relation. The actual relation. So he hear himself, and he see himself. And the second thing is potential. And potential is what? Potential eternal. Why it's potential and why it's eternal? Potential eternal when it comes to the possible things, our essence and our attributes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hearing and seeing has a potentiality to, it has a relation, it has a potential to see or hear anything possible since eternity. But since there is no possible things since eternity, so it's emergent. But when it's emergent, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hear us and see us. and it's actual emergent. According to what? According to us, because we are emergent beings. We and our attributes. Okay? لا. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, this is what we need to know in this lesson. It's very, I talked too much today. Okay. So, yeah, let's read this part from the book. Can you read it, Liam?
بإذن الله.
No.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصوص.
Can you share screen?
Yeah. Are you able to see?
Yeah. Can you make it a little? Yeah, perfect.
بسم الله. The relations, تعلقات. The relations of an attribute are the meanings entailed from the attribute's existence, other than the meaning of Allah's being attributed with it. For example, in addition to Allah's being attributed with knowledge, i.e. His being knowledgeable, the existence of knowledge also entails Allah's knowing about the earth, His knowing about the sun, and His knowing about the moon, amongst many other things. It is necessary to affirm the relations of each of the attributes, except for life, since the existence of life does not entail any meaning that is other than Allah's being attributed with it, i.e. Allah's being alive. Thus, life has no relations. The relations of knowledge and speech. His knowledge and his speech assuredly relate to all of the categories of rational judgment, meaning Allah's knowledge and speech relate to all things belonging to all categories of rational judgment. In other words, Allah knows everything that is necessary, everything that is impossible, and everything that is possible. And since Allah has signified with His eternal speech everything that He knows, He has signified with His speech all necessities, impossibilities, and possibilities. Relations of power and will. As for His power and will, they relate to all rational possibilities. In other words, Allah can select existence for with His will and bring into existence with His power anything that accepts both existence and non-existence. And if it is said, why doesn't Allah's power and will relate to things whose existence is necessary or impossible? We respond, a necessary being is one that exists by virtue of what it is. Thus, a necessary being is uncreated. And if Allah's power and will related to a being, then this would mean that Allah can create this being. So if Allah's power and will related to a necessary being, then this would make such a being both created and uncreated, which is clearly contradictory. As for impossibilities, if power and will related to them, then this would mean that those impossibilities can be brought into existence, entailing that those impossibilities be not impossible, and that is also contradictory. Thus, power and will do not relate to rational necessities or rational impossibilities. And in the above is the answer to many of the questions that a few simpletons ask with regards to Allah's ability to do rational impossibilities. Questions like, can God enter the world as a human? Or, can God create an uncreated creator? Or, can God create a stone that He cannot lift? All of what is being asked about are rational impossibilities, whereas Allah's power only pertains to rational possibilities. And Allah's power exclusively pertaining to possibilities is not a weakness on His part, since weakness is the inability to create something that can be created, and He can create anything that can be created. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Relations of hearing and seeing. As for His hearing and seeing, then they relate to everything that exists. Existence are categorized into the necessary existence, i.e. Allah Himself, and the possible existences, i.e., everything in the world. Thus, Allah sees and hears Himself and everything in the world.
Okay, so let's stop here for today, inshallah. And next time, inshallah, we will start what's impossible according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the necessary being, inshallah. Okay. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم and كل عام وأنتم بخير. See you inshallah in next class. السلام عليكم.